I don't think that I could really fully respect someone who doesn't have any sense of imagination or any time for fantasy. To me, the world is a really dull place if you don't see it as something more than just base reality. If you think that life is going to work and getting paid dollars so that you can have a nice car and brag about it and sit there complaining about your obligations and having a family just so that you can say that you had a family, spending your whole life being busy with stuff, too busy for anything that's not serious, just always doing stuff that matters, always ready to make it clear that you're too busy and too important for stupid things, childish things, imaginative things. I can't respect that. That's a deal breaker. And that might seem weird because I guess we're supposed to be serious about our lives, right? You know? We're taught this. We're taught to be serious about our lives, and we're taught that we're supposed to lay aside fantasy and childish things and be adult. But then it feels like all the stuff that adults focus on is really stupid too. It's like they're playing a game too. It's just they don't know that they're playing a game. Because if I'm playing a video game and I'm looking forward to unlocking some new thing or leveling up my character or something, and then you have some guy who's going to work and he's working 80 hours a week so that he can level up his job. He's not doing it because he wants to make a difference in the world. He's doing it because he wants to make a difference for himself. But he doesn't know it. He doesn't think that he's just grinding in a game. He thinks that this is important. Important enough to hate people for it. Important enough to compromise his moral values for it. People think that the things that they're doing in their lives matter so much. So much they don't have time for anything other than continuing that obsession with trying to advance themselves. And, you know, I think I spent a lot of my life looking up to those people, trying to be more like them, thinking to myself, you know, if I could just be more mature, if I could be a better leader, if I could be smarter or faster or more competitive, if I could get that next promotion, if I could unlock a higher level in my career path, you know, that's what matters. And then I've realized those things don't matter. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be interested in what you're doing. Yeah, you should care about your job. If you're doing a job, you should want to do it well. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Of course you should. But I'm talking about something more on a spiritual level. People live their lives in such a state of discouragement, and they don't even realize it. People live their lives as slaves. They think that the only things that matter in their life are these jobs, living to please somebody, doing what is expected of them. And that is so confining. I think you can be sort of in a shroud of distraction so much that you never realize that you're totally full of crap. And you've spent your whole life doing this. Jumping when somebody says jump, leveling up and leveling up in this grindy game of life, and never actually enjoying your experience, never having time for other people, just going and going and going. You know, and I don't think that it's a good game. Life. If you realize that life is like a game, maybe sometimes you just don't want to play. Or maybe you know what it's like? It's like a game that's really good. Until you decide that you want to get to the end game. And when you decide you want to get to the end game, then suddenly it becomes this horrific grind. And you can't actually get there. It's like a pay-to-win game. Like, I played Rise of Kingdoms for a little while before I got wise and realized that I was full of crap for even thinking about it. But Rise of Kingdoms is a cell phone game, and you build up your base, and it's all timers and waiting game. And you keep on trying to increase your power, and then you can fight in wars with people. And it's kind of like a mixture between an MMO and a cell phone game and a RTS game, sort of. It's kind of cool in principle until you realize that it's all just a battle of credit card warriors, and there is no way that through strategy or effort you can gain the upper hand. It's a total waste of time. It's pay to win 100%. And there's people who, for whatever reason, have managed to have more money than wisdom, and they will just wail on it. I don't know how they do it. I always wonder, how is this possible? That people who apparently have been smart enough to get a decent amount of money are not smart enough to know that you're not going to get ahead in life by putting $10,000 into a cell phone game. I don't understand it. But then I also don't understand why it is that people who you'd think are smart don't realize that life is like a game and they are being played. It's the same thing. Because you can enjoy your life just living a simple life. Taking time to stop and smell the roses. Taking time to enjoy a good book. Taking time to enjoy conversation with your friends just because you value their companionship. Taking time to see good in the world around you and just have a positive experience. But then people don't. They go full on into this pay to win grind. And it's like playing Farmville. So you play Farmville, you've played Farmville. What you'll find is you start playing and you grow crops, and then you put them in the barn. Like you grow your wheat, and then you can grow some sugar, and then like you take the sugar and you take the wheat and then you turn it into finished bread or something like that. But you take all these parts and you craft stuff, and you put all of your things into the barn. And the more you level up, the more you need barn space, because what you're doing is more complicated. And then you get extra stuff like bricks or whatever it is so that you can upgrade your barn. But then you have to put those upgrade materials into your barn. So you're always out of barn space, waiting until the next opportunity you have to level up your barn space. And that's how they get you. And if you pay real money, then you could unlock the barn space faster and easier. But it doesn't matter how much you do this. Even if you put money into that game so that you could level this stuff up and kind of get ahead of the curve, you're never going to get ahead of the curve, because it's just going to take you to the next level, and you're always going to be behind the curve. You're always going to need a little more space than what you currently have. It's never going to be enough. And it's conditioned to make it seem like you're just a little bit short of where you need to be. And then if you could just get that next upgrade, get that next level, then you'd be good. And that's how they get people. And it's just this non-stop grind. And the more you play, the longer the timers take to finish, and the more space you need, and the harder it is to progress. And it's just this whole scam to make people take a cell phone game, which is actually not a very good game, not a very complicated game, this simple game, and turn it into something that they will put hundreds or thousands of dollars into. Because they get attached to it, they get addicted to it. And then they don't pay attention to the fact that they are being totally taken. And if there was any way to enjoy that game, the only way you could enjoy it would be to stop trying to level up more. If you weren't concerned with leveling up more, then I guess you could just continue to play it exactly the way it is. But then you'd get bored, and you'd say, well, why am I playing this game? Because if I'm not trying to progress, then it's stupid, and there's no point. I guess that's how people see life. Whatever you currently are able to do with your life, people say that's stupid. It's stupid for you to enjoy your life the way it is. People will tell you that you're a moron. If you have a good time with your life and you think your life is good, they're going to tell you 100 reasons why it's not. You think that life is fine with the car that you have? No, it's not. You need to want a nicer car, because why wouldn't you want a nicer car? You think your house is big enough or good enough the way it is? No, of course not. You think the food you eat is good enough? No, you need to go to an expensive restaurant. You think you make enough money right now? No, of course you don't. You need to work 85 hours a week so that you can kill yourself almost, but then you will get a promotion so you can make, an extra 10,000 a year or something. See, that's the thing. There's always going to be that extra thing. It's like chasing barn space in Farmville. You have to keep on trying to make it more. And if you don't, then, you're just not playing the game right. But it's really a trick. And it's a scam. Because you can enjoy your life just the way it is. You can have a good life right now. You don't have to keep on trying to level up further. You can just have peace today. That's the big secret that nobody wants to get out. That you can just enjoy your life and have peace right now. Because if people know that, then people will just take what they need in life and enjoy their life. And then there's not really any way to control them. Because if somebody is content with a little, you can't gimmick them into sacrificing their peace in exchange for something more. Because when you say, well, okay, give up your peace so that you can have money, I'm going to say, well, why would I give up my peace so I can have money? Because money is worthless to me, and peace is priceless to me. So that seems like a really, really bad exchange. And that's self-evident. Unless you can make me forget that peace is something that exists. And if I don't know that peace is an option, if I don't know that it's possible to be happy with my life, then I'm going to continue to search for the next big thing. And I think it's really important for us to realize this. And I've also thought about how much fantasy has changed my life. Sometimes fantasy feels more real to me than reality. And I think that's interesting, and in a way it's kind of weird. And I've wondered why that is. Why is it that I could get lost in something like Star Wars or Star Trek or The Lord of the Rings or any number of other fictional stories and fall in love with those, and then feel kind of disenfranchised with actual reality? And the more I think about it, the more I realize that the reason why fantasy is so important and why it feels so special is because despite the fact that fantasy stories and fiction are usually based on all sorts of things that are fake, it's actually an allegory for something that's really real. And that is that your life matters enough for you to enjoy it just the way it is today. Because when you go into a fantasy world, you are that hero. You are living a story that is complete enough to be good just the way it is. And I guess it's that message that your life matters. In a world which is filled with messages that say your life doesn't matter. That's really what it all boils down to. Because at the end of the day, deep down inside, we all believe that we are spirits, not animals. That there's something more to who we are than just living so that we can be cogs in a machine and then die. And the world continues to reinforce the idea that our lives do not matter. That negative reinforcement is what I guess we can rebel against that by diving into stories of heroism, of principle over practicality, of believing that you're not just there to impress your neighbors and do what your boss tells you. That your life actually has value. And that you should be proud of the adventure that you're on. That you should be excited to get up every day and see what is around the next bend in the road. We know this. So then the question is, how can we take that sense of adventure that we have in fantasy settings, when we allow our imagination to be set free, how can we take that and actually expand that into real life? And I think the way you do that is you simplify your life. And you stop being obsessed with the end game everyone tells you needs to be your priority. And you say, you know what, I don't need to level up anymore. I have a good life right now. And I'm going to enjoy today. And I'm going to really be happy with things the way they are. Even if people want to tell me that it's not enough, I'm going to be at peace with it. And then you just kind of let go of all of those other things that people are going to try to suck you into. It doesn't mean that you go out and you quit your job or something. It doesn't mean that you go out and you do a half-hearted job at the things that you do in life and you say, well, I don't really care. No, that's not what it means. It means that you care about the value of your life enough to enjoy your life exactly as it is. And you value what you're doing enough to not feel like it's not enough. It's that you stop looking to tomorrow and looking to hypothetical things that aren't in front of you, saying, well, maybe things would be better if things were different. And you just let today be an adventure. That's what I'm talking about. It doesn't have to be all about the future, all about something external to yourself. You know, I think it's amazing how much when you stop trying, you start to produce better results. It's really interesting, but it's so true. When you stop caring so much, you start doing better. Because then, why wouldn't you just give 100%? I mean, if you aren't worried about the future, and you're not worried about what other people think, and you enjoy your life, and you think that the adventure that you're on today is an adventure worth having, and you think it's interesting, why wouldn't you give 100% and just have fun the entire way through? It's not that you wouldn't do your best, you just wouldn't be worried about it. Other people wouldn't have leverage against you because you'd be doing the things that you're doing out of free will, free choice. But it's not like you have to be in fear and bondage in order to be productive. You can enjoy your life and do a good job at everything you do and be committed to everything you do right now. You know, the fact that I'm not necessarily promising what tomorrow is going to hold or what next year is going to look like doesn't mean that I'm not going to be fully present in what I'm doing today. And there's this notion that if you aren't miserable, you're not going to be productive. And if you aren't scared, you're not going to move fast enough. If you're not dissatisfied, then you're not going to challenge yourself. And that is ridiculous. The most productive people are often the people who are volunteering their time because they're doing something that they believe in so much that it's not even about the money. Look at a guy that has a model railroad in his garage. Have you ever seen people's model railroad setups? What they do creatively? Nobody paid them to do that. They paid to do that. So if somebody can pay their own money to do something and to do it really well with passion and purpose, then that alone proves you don't have to be miserable and heavily leveraged and under someone else's control in order to be purposeful and productive in your life. You can actually enjoy your life and be free and be lighthearted and be relaxed and do good in the world. People want to say it's one or the other, you know? Like, you're either going to be a serious person that's doing things that actually matter and making a real difference in the world, or you are a child that is accomplishing nothing. Sometimes the people that accomplish the most are the people who aren't worried about accomplishing anything. Because instead of chasing completion, chasing endgame, they just try to be the best person they can be today. And they stop complaining and they stop worrying and they just be authentic. That gets you pretty far. Farther than you might realize. I think that's interesting. Fantasy is something I think we should all have space and time for. Imagination. Something more than just practical things. It gives us a lens of optimism in a world filled with pessimism. And that matters. You know, there's a saying in the Bible that a rich man cannot, I guess it was said, it's easier for a rich man to, what it was it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go to heaven. That's what it was. And you know what that means? I think what it means is when you're chasing that result, when it's never enough, when there's always something more that needs to be attained as a prerequisite for joy, you will never have joy. When you have to get what you want before you can see life as a blessing, well, you'll never see life as a blessing. When you have to get your way before you're able to do good in the lives of others, well, you're never going to do good in the lives of others because you're always going to be trying to get what you want. And then you'll think, well, I'll do good when I get to that next level. You never get there. You spend your whole life being self-centered with this idea that one day I'm going to get to that point where I can say, I did it, I got there. And then you're going to realize in the end that you were the fool because you never get there. You never get to the point where you can just be happy because you found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It does not exist. It's not there to be found. It's just a trick. It's a trick to make you feel like you have something to chase. So you got to stop chasing. Just accept that you are there now. You can be at peace today. You can make a difference in people's lives in a positive way and enjoy your life in an authentic way. And it can be, you know, you can be good right now. And that's really what it all boils down to. You're either going to find out how to lay aside all the distractions and be good right now, or you're going to never be good and you're never going to enjoy it. And we see that in gaming all the time. We do. Like, there's people who enjoy a game, and then there's people who are always angry about it because they have these high expectations of what Endgame is supposed to be about, or how the mechanics are supposed to be, or something like that. Like, you're either gonna be having a really good time just because you enjoy the experience, or you're gonna always be miserable because it's never gonna be enough. And if you're a person who's never going to be satisfied with your life, well, good luck making a positive difference or impact in the lives of others. Have you ever been inspired by somebody who is negative because they're really good at something, but they're really negative all the time? Or, like, no, I don't think so. It's a simple answer after all, isn't it? I guess I'll close with this thought. Regardless of all of the things that you could worry about or try to be, all the different ways you could manage your time, imagine if you just had a positive attitude about your life and other people all the time, and you never complained again for the rest of your life. Do you think that would make a difference for the better in your life and in the lives of others? I think most of us, if we're honest, would agree on that one. A positive attitude for all things, about all things, toward all people, would stand to only make life better. And yet, quite often, that's exactly what we refuse to do. So maybe it's time to let some things go. It's time to say life is good the way it is. It's time to stop chasing the end game. It's time to stop looking for peace and just accept that we've had it all along. Till next time, thank you for watching.